What is up, everybody? You know, I start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. My friends over at Yellow Jacket have sent me a prize, something to give away. I will give the details tonight, so make sure you stay up to date. Guys, my friends over at Yellow Jacket are amazing. I tell you guys every week, I don't want you to rush out and buy anything because I said so. I just want to maybe put a thought in your mind when you guys spend some of your hard-earned money to look at Yellow Jacket. That's all I ask. And I always tell you this because you guys know that I'm always honest. I know that Yellow Jacket does not make the flashiest tools that are out there. Maybe their screen doesn't look like some of the other guys and stuff like that. But one thing that I love about Yellow Jacket, hands down, is their tools do exactly what they were built to do when they're supposed to do it. They can take a beating, and their customer service is bar none one of the best that I've seen. I have literally put them to the test. I have had people that work for me, friends of mine, buy their tools and use the warranty, not using my name. The people know that I have no affiliation to them, and they make it right every time. Does that mean there's not going to be situations where maybe somebody doesn't get the service they thought they should? Of course, man, that's just what happens. But everybody that I've sent has gotten a new tool or got it fixed or whatever it is, and it's been amazing. I'm going to bring out the series again where I have their P51 860, I think it is, where I literally beat the living piss out of this thing, and it works every single time. I threw it off the roof. Granted, I threw it in the grass. I didn't throw it on the concrete, but I threw it off the roof, and I'm talking we were up probably 35 feet high. Pressed the power button, it turned on. Left it outside in the rain. Pressed the power button, it turned on. Left it out in the snow. Pressed the power button, it turned on. That's what I want. I don't necessarily care what it looks at as long as it gives me the data and the information that I need from it when I'm trying to do a job so that I can do the job I was hired to do. And I love them. And the fact that they make all their stuff right here in the US of A means a lot to me. So their three newest products, go check out the combustion analyzer, the CA502, which I have one, which may or may not be given away. The YJack Mano, which we're going to talk about some static pressure tonight, just to touch on. You should have one of these in your bag all year. If you're not checking gas pressure, you should be checking the static pressure, aka duct pressure, in the summertime, the wintertime, something you should be doing. And then the turbo recovery machine, this thing is a fucking beast. It is A2L certified. That thing is a monster. I have one. My guys love it. We had to buy another one, and I said, hey, which one do you want? Thinking they would be like, I want the FIELDPULSE one, man. Nope. They were like, hey, let's get another one of those Yellow Jacket. And I was like, my man, that's what I'm talking about. So guys, remember, 70 years of expertise built into every tool. Next, you know what the hell I'm going to talk about. My friends over at Bluon. Yeah, Mia, I get it. You're tired of hearing about Bluon. Well, guess what? Oh, fucking well. I'm going to talk about them anyway. Guys, Bluon is just unleashing so many different things, and now I have some new stuff that I'm legally binded that I can't say yet that is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. All I'm going to say is I'm going to be putting my money where my mouth is. So I love Bluon, and people are like, oh, well, you love Bluon because you get paid to. Bullshit. Guys, any of the sponsors that I use, I would do for free. Yeah, I do this as a business, so there's some compensation for it. But if I wouldn't talk about these companies for free, then I wouldn't do it being paid. I love what Bluon is doing. I love from the top down. Mr. Peter is the absolute man. And guys, their app, I'm serious, is taking it to the next level. If you are not utilizing this, I don't know what else that I could tell you to make you use this. It is a tool you should have in your pocket. And now that you can get things delivered to you like you just ordered a sub, it's a time saver, everything about it. Get more work done and stay out of the supply house. If you're a manager, you don't want your guys in the supply house. Let them order this stuff and have it delivered to them. There's just so many positives that I can't even say them all in one podcast. So guys, go download the Bluon app. And remember, they are upgrading the HVAC industry one tech at a time. All right, on to the show. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
5, 3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue-collar people talking about blue-collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil Cavey Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil Cavey Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday, another fucking hump day, ready to talk about some HVAC, some HVAC. Good show for you tonight. A guest that's been on several times that I'm going to introduce here in just a moment. Hello to everybody in the chat. I'll try to announce you guys real fast. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Mr. East Coast for being the first one in here. What is up, my man? Mr. Jimmy, HVAC teacher. Mr. Brian Sanders. Neil, what is up, brother? Mr. Outlaw HVAC. Hello, my friend. Thank you for being here. Mr. Blogger, what is up, my man? Mr. Jet Lack, I might say that wrong, but hello and thank you for being here. I think that is everybody. Blogger, as far as still waiting on your hat. So the hats haven't been shipped out yet. They were waiting for all that stuff to be done. So if you were one of the lucky people who did the Bluon thing to get your limited edition Bluon hat, you will get it. They were letting the whole process end, and then they're going to do a bulk ship them all at one time. So I don't think the hats have been shipped. You will get them soon. Just so you know. All right. Remember, as we go, guys, my moderators will try to help me. They'll text me if I don't see something. I don't see Mr. Rookie tonight, which is weird. I hope he is okay. I might have to call him because he is always here. If there's any questions throughout the show, try to put them in all caps. It kind of draws my attention. I've moved some things around on the screens to make the chat bigger so it's easier for me to see. I guess I'm getting fucking old and I can't see. If you put it in all caps, I will try to see it a little bit better. But guys, without further ado, man, you guys probably saw the show tag. This guy has been on several times. He's become a good friend of mine over the years. We've got to meet several times in person. He's a smart dude. He doesn't admit to how smart he is when you try to give him credit, but he's a very, very smart guy about doing things the right way and just looking at the whole picture of things, which has really opened my eyes. We've had some great conversations when it's not even on air. It's just me and him talking about stuff. It's been some amazing conversations, and I love when I sit here and talk to this guy because I know that me and him will fill an hour about something that is going to help somebody without a doubt. So guys, without further ado, help me welcome my good friend, co-inventor of the HVAC 2.0, Mr. Nate Adams.
What's up, Gil?
What's up, my man? Did I suck your cock enough in the intro? I was trying to I love Nate. But no, I was 100% serious what I said, though.
I know you were. We've had some great conversations because we come at things from different angles, but we both give a shit about the same thing, which is solving client problems, serving clients, and doing it the right way.
Yep. And, and we'll talk about some more things later. And I think that sometimes people get too far away from that, whether it's ego, money, whatever it is, that a lot of people, they say they're trying to do the right thing until it comes down to it. I told you about some of the warranties and stuff that we do, and I had to go out and it was a newer system, had a compressor failure under 3 years, and part of our warranty is that's a lemon guarantee. I'll replace the whole outdoor unit, whatever. I'll replace whatever has to be replaced. And the guy looked at me and he's like, you know what? He's like, when you told me that at the table, he's like, I thought it was a sales pitch. He's like, I didn't think you would actually do it. And I'm like, well, that's what separates me from the other guys because I'm a man of my word. And he was like, just so you know, I will never go anywhere else for HVAC. He's like, you won my business just by doing what you said you were going to do. And that goes a long way because a lot of these places, like even something as small as we're 24 hours a day, but they call you 11 o'clock at night and nobody answers. Like if you're not 24 hours, then just say you're not 24 hours. Don't lie to your customers, like little things. So sorry for the rant I was going here.
It's all good. You remind me there's a towing company around here that says 23 and a half hour service. Not quite. And by the way, HVAC blogger, thanks for the welcome back. What's your name, by the way? I don't know what your name is.
Oh my God. Now I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember.
He'll type it in. We're good.
Yeah.
He gets to play keyboard warrior tonight, and then I'll remind you I wrote it down to send him a link when we're done.
Thank you, Nate.
You're going to forget that. I know I would.
I am. Nate is the greatest assistant who's not even really my assistant. It's awesome.
Nestor. There we are. What I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is it's kind of jumping off from what you were talking about there with just being good to your word and actually fixing stuff. So we've been thinking a lot about the state of the industry, where we are, and like, holy crap, there's a lot of crap coming at us right now as an industry. We've got new refrigerants on their way, which is making everybody a little bit nervous. And frankly, I'm a little bit freaked out for having 4 jugs on every truck, because everyone's going to have 22, 410, 454, and 32. That's a lot of stuff to have on there. And what are the odds that somebody gasses up with the wrong stuff and roaches a system?
I agree with you 100%. But I'll be honest, just side note here of how little the number is of actual R22 systems we're seeing in this area.
Have they all been replaced, basically?
Yeah. And if they are, they're so old that the people are like, I just want a new one. I always tell you, I'm a numbers guy, looking through the analytics part, and I'm like, damn, we ran this many calls this week and we only saw 2 R22 systems. Like, I'm surprised of how little it is.
It makes sense. They're starting to age out. I mean, when did 22 go in? That was late 90s, mid 90s, something like that.
So 410 came out like really hot and heavy, the early 2000s? And then we stopped like the whole dry charge thing where people were like, replacing outdoor units, I was going to say was like 2010, like the late 2000s. So I would say 2010 is probably the cutoff. So 23 years should be the newest R22 system, give or take, should be in that range. Because you had that option there for a little bit when you could sell somebody a system and it could be R22 or 410. And I'm like, why would you sell them an R22 system knowing it's being phased out? But then it's like, well, we're selling people 410 systems right now, knowing it's going to be phased out, but we don't have any other options, though. It's different.
Yeah, exactly. 410 is the only thing that's really out. The other ones are coming, but yeah, it's not quite there. But anyway, that's coming in the next couple of years, though. So everybody's going to have 2 more jugs on their truck. That's not too far out. You can blame me to an extent, although not really, on the electrification front. There's all kinds of stuff coming from that sort of thing. I mean, I have Electrify Everything on my wall back here. We've been big fans of doing that for a while, but you have to do it right.
Yes.
And there are so many ways to do it wrong. And unfortunately, most rebate programs end up pushing you in the wrong direction. Or like the IRA, it's pushing for good cold temperature performance, but the cheapest products that have that good cold temperature performance don't dehumidify like at all. It's like 0 to 10% latent removal. That's not enough. You need to be in the 20 to 30 range in a humid climate, which is most of us in the US.
Or like we talked about off air, a lot of these people are conversions. They're not existing heat pump users. These are people going from natural gas, from propane, probably not natural gas, but they're going from oil because it's fucking outrageously expensive, especially in the Northeast, or they're going from propane because the price is astronomical. When you do that conversion, it's not just pull it out and put a heat pump in. You have to think about it. I was telling Nate, I had to turn down a job because when I go from oil to electric, like he says, to do it the right way, I'm only offering them inverter technology. That is it, because they are used to that dry, hot, warm heat. And if you give them some run-of-the-mill base heat pump, they are not going to be happy. It's going to be a constant headache. They're going to be calling in for warranty. The system's broke. It's not working. There's cold air coming out. It's not worth doing it. I'm like, hey, maybe I'm not for you. Maybe they'll thank me down the road when they're like, oh, Gil was right. But I'm just not putting myself or Beltway in that situation. Yeah,
it's definitely a risk that you're taking. We try to suggest say no with price and make sure you educate them and then have them sign off. But there's still a risk of the blowback. The other big challenge is, and everyone should be aware of this, a lot of the climate-focused clients are a pain in the butt to work with. We find this about 75% of them just kind of suck. They've got really high outcome expectations, but they have very low budgets. That's not a recipe for a good relationship. Are you like me? Every time I have offered a discount, I have regretted it. Every time.
Our new membership, our club plan, if you're not a club member, you don't get a discount. So when the guys call me and they go, hey, Gil, this person wants to get this system and they want to know if they can get a discount. Are they a club member? No? Well, then I guess they don't get a discount.
Nice.
It's that simple. And they have to be previously. So it's not those people just want an install. Okay, well, you weren't one. I'm sorry, you can't get a discount. You can't buy it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't pay $100 now and then I'll give you $2,000 off or $1,000 off or whatever it works out to be.
Yeah, not doing that. Real fast, what is up, Mr. Reliable, Adrian, and Mr. Brett from Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. Hello, fellas.
Oh, Brett. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Brett. I know that we come from different trains of thought as far as, you offer the customer things, and if they sign off on it and you let them know, like, hey, this won't work, and they still do it anyway, that, the liability is not on you. I do get that, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never done that. I guess my job is kind of like trying to put out fires before they start, and I guess that we've built up such a positive and good reputation. It's like, if I don't have to, I'm not going to. You know what I mean?
Oh, I feel you there too. Pick your clients because there's some people, you just don't want to work with them. That's one of the curses with a lot of the electrification people that are coming to you. If they come to you and they're like, I want the IRA rebate, be really careful because that's a red flag. So just pay attention. And that sucks to say because I'm pro-electrification. Like, it's going to come. Renewable electricity is the cheapest power that mankind's ever known. And that's happened in the last 2, 3, 4 years. It's not just like cheaper than other stuff. It's actually the cheapest energy we've ever known because there's no fuel. We were harnessing wind and solar.
Well, and plus, don't they say that, heat pumps are the most efficient source of heat there is? Not the best, but it's the most efficient source of heat there is.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind fuck, really, because you only need to pipe in or wire in some of the power, but the heat that you extract, the heat that goes into the house, is actually pulled from the air outside the house. So you don't have to pipe that in. It just gets sucked in from right outside the house where it sits. It definitely messes with your mind, like understanding the physics of that. You're going to run 200% to 500% efficient. That's kind of hard to beat. I mean, that's your COPs. You get down to around 2 in the 0 degree range, maybe 1.5, 1.75. And if you're at like 50 degrees, a 5 COP is not outrageous. So, I mean, they're awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When you say the IRA, are you talking about like the 25C rebate? Or are we talking about something different?
Well, it is a 25C. It's the Inflation Reduction Act. The incentives that are just coming through. So it's $2,000, but it's up to 30% of the job. So you got to spend a little over $6,000 before you get it. But I mean, what system isn't going to be $6,000?
I'm not walking in the deer.
If you're selling for less than that, what the hell are you doing? Plus, it needs to hit the performance targets. So
normally it's a nicer system. So you're well over $6,000. Christ, some of those inverter outdoor units cost $6,000.
I have a Carrier 5-stage sitting here. Yeah, the outdoors 4, and then the indoor stuff is pushing 3 with the stat and everything. So yeah,
I missed my 25 BNA so bad. I had 2 up in the last house. My sweet little twins that were outside, those sexy bitches. I miss them so much.
It's a nice product.
They are. Since we've been dealing with Lennox, like obviously their signature line is decent, but it's expensive. You're paying for that Dave Lennox line. But they have an elite, what is it? The XC23 is the straight AC. And then there is the elite, so that would be the ELXP22 inverter.
Okay.
They are pretty badass bang for your buck because the Carrier 18-SEER 5-stage heat pump they had, it was only in a heat pump. That was one of the best bang for your bucks. And I think what Lennox made, that's actually pretty good equipment. Because you know me, I've always been a Carrier guy. Coming up, I've always sold Carrier. But that Lennox Elite is pretty badass. I'm not going to lie. Like, you can probably get that system for like $7,000 cheaper, like retail, than the signature line. And maybe it's a few decibels quieter, maybe 1.5 points off of your SEER rating. But you're not going to know the difference. It looks the same. It's still the same communicating. The S40 now. Yeah, they did away with the S30. S40 thermostat. Like, it's pretty sweet. So I've been falling in love with that.
Jessica, what's up? I see Jessica Egan in there watching a coil thaw. I hope you're putting some heat into that sucker. It takes a long time to thaw that much ice. That's so funny. Brett's asking Advanced Refrigeration Podcast, are they raising the head pressure during heating to get a little bit more heat out of the system? You are out of my realm of expertise. You probably know that answer more than me. I mean, there's always vapor injection to do that sort of thing when you get to the higher end stuff. Although the Carrier unit that we were talking about, the 18-SEER 5-stage, I don't think that does vapor injection because its cold temperature performance is meh. It's the same as like all the other basic 18-SEER stuff.
Yeah.
where like the green speed definitely has it because it hangs on to pretty decent outdoor cold temperature capacity when you get down pushing zero. So yeah, there's differences in that. But yeah, there's all this other stuff like for the two Airbnbs that we have down in West Virginia. They're little tiny houses. One's 672 square feet and the other one is 800. So they're tiny. So I didn't want a 2-ton. And the only option was a Daikin Fit at 1.5. So we got a couple of those and put them in. They're nice little systems. And it's like, yeah, they're 17 SEER or it's up to. I don't give a shit about efficiency. Will it dehumidify?
Yeah.
And does it have okay cold temperature performance? It doesn't have to be fantastic because that's an 11-degree design down there. It's not that big of a deal. I'm in Cleveland at the moment. So whatever. Like that's what strip heat's for. Or if it's a hybrid, that's what the furnace is for. Like, sure, yeah. And it's funny when people freak out and they're like, but I burned like 70 kilowatt hours of resistance in one day. I'm like, so that was $10, maybe 20. And you did that 3 days a year. Who gives a shit?
And people, efficiency and comfort are two different things. And even when you have an inverter system, it can't give you both. If you're comfortable, it's not running efficiently. If it's running efficiently, you're probably not comfortable. So that's why I tell people when you sell inverter technology, don't sell it based on money savings or efficiency. They're never going to get their money back. That is never why you should offer them. It is always the comfort factor.
I come from the shell side of things, the home performance side of things. And so there's been talk of payback for years. If you talk about payback, you are going to be a liar because fuel prices change. Things move around. So yeah, comfort you can sell on and actually deliver. Savings, don't do that. We're not financial advisors. We're HVAC people.
No. And I like to always tell people, it's something I've always stuck to, and I may not be 100% right, but it's close enough. I tell them all systems over the life of them cost the same. So whether you put less up front and pay more over the life, or if you pay more up front and less over the life. Because, one of those more efficient inverter systems, yeah, it costs more up front, but it's probably going to cost the same or less to give you way better comfort than that cheap system was going to. So it's just, you got to educate people and not just feed them bullshit, and especially do your research. You know what I mean? Like, know that what you're telling people actually has some fact to it and not your opinion. We get stuck in that opinion stage, which it'll bite you in the ass every time.
Yes, it will. And Brian, by the way, we are in Fayetteville in New River Gorge area. So southern West Virginia. And the two Airbnbs are in Oak Hill. If you look them up on Airbnb, one is the Game House and the other one is the Wizard House. They're both themed. So if you like Harry Potter, I have to say that house is cool AF. I was talking about it like we had just put it up the last time that we were on. It has been booked just damn near solid. So that was a good move. We had it themed for candy before, and we basically got families with little girls 8 and under. Just like all we got. And it was booking at like half the rate of the house next door. And now it's booking better. Anyway, so other stuff that's going on. So we have new refrigerants coming. We have electrification. We have labor issues, right? Kind of fun to find new people. That's always been the case, but it's tighter than usual at the moment. And the last big thing is, as an industry, our installs suck ass. I'm not saying that for you and me, but as a whole,
I agree with you 100%. And I think that's why what has made me love the Instagram community so much, because it's more positive and it's a bunch of dudes out there showing the right way to do things. And it's kind of raising the bar, And I really love what Jeff JDM HVAC said, that he's like, I wasn't always like this. I thought that I did. My ego told me, hey, you do really badass installs, until I started seeing other people and being like, damn, I can step my game up. That's awesome. Like I always say that we hold ourselves accountable. Like, man, I did a good install. Like, damn, look at that. Like, all right, I can do better.
I'm doing that one next time.
Exactly. I also get it that it's got to be cost essential. So maybe you got to change the way you bid your jobs. Like, there's a lot of factors into it, but we can always do better. It's simply, we can always do better. New products are coming out, better ways to do things, to pipe things, fittings, like before when people were like the reed things and like deburr and PVC pipe so they fit perfect. Nobody did that shit before. You know what I mean? Like everybody lies about iBraze with nitrogen. No, you don't, you fucking liar. Shut up. You know what I mean? To actually start doing these things, the RLS and the crimp tools and stuff like that. That stuff's, it's pretty amazing technology that can make you more efficient and make your jobs look good.
I didn't come up with the term, but I've definitely heard of it. It's blue collar art. And I'm a big fan of that. My dad was always that way, restoring cars, and he did very high-end cars. So like a $250,000 car was a cheap car, and this is like the 90s. So like pretty nice 1920s and 30s stuff in general. If you took one of his cars apart and you looked at all the pieces in there, everything was perfect. Like the paint on the starter would be perfect, even though the starter was not visible. Like you had to take panels off to even get to it. That was just his way. And I love seeing that in general. Typically, when you see a really pretty job, you don't worry about any of the pieces of the install. You know it's going to be done well. I mean, the odds are very, very high. It's going to be really good. Like when you see really perfect wiring around an electric panel, I'm not worried about that guy's connections elsewhere in the house.
No.
We live in West Virginia now. The wiring? Yeah.
My cousin Eddie said it was fine. You're allowed to wire it like that. You just twist them together and put some goop on it. It'll stay.
And part of it, to be fair, is it was standards from other times. But we just bought this house that we point blank, we're finally starting to change what we're calling it. But we called it the shit house for a while because it was an animal hoarding situation. We got it for a good deal. But I no joke pulled 50 pounds of cat crap out of it and a dead dog and a dead cat. It was rough. And then we basically just gutted everything because the building materials soak up the smell. And then I get pictures because a lot of this has been going on while we've been up here. And I'm just like, that wiring, it all just needs to go. So we're just going to rewire the house. Just point blank, because we can. Everything's open. So it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, the blue collar art, like that's really nice to see, but it's not super consistent out there. There's the Pareto principle, the 80-20. 80% is one way and 20% is another. And in this case, it's 80% bad and maybe 20% good. As far as bad installs, just one metric. I asked Jim Bergman, actually I asked his daughter Val, for static pressure stats. And she sent me a data set that was a little over 800 systems, and it's pretty representative nationwide. So it wasn't like it was every state, but it was pretty representative. And of those, 70% were above half an inch of static. And I mean, what's the typical manufacturer high-end spec?
0.5.
Half an inch.
Yeah.
So 70% of systems, keep in mind, these are companies that are testing. And some of these are probably test outs after installs. So the odds are reality is actually worse. Can't prove it, but that's the odds. And then 47% of them were over 0.7. What happens to ECM longevity when you break 0.7? It starts to fall.
Yeah.
I mean, at 0.7, you might be okay. 0.7, 0.8, you might get away with it. But you hit 1 and say goodnight. That motor's going to eat it in a couple of years. And then you're going to put another one in, and then that one's going to eat it too because you didn't change the situation that it's living in. So that's just one metric, and 70% of systems are installed out of manufacturer spec. And Bergman talks about upwards of 90% of installed systems have a detectable fault when you use MeasureQuick.
Because they don't read the fucking manual. How many times you go and it's still in the plastic? You did not install a system properly. Unless you've installed that system 100 times, you're an authorized dealer, you've been through their training. But even if you have, all the more reason to open that fucking book, rip the plastic off and look at it. There's dip switches. There's all different kind of things you have to change. This is what we're talking about, people. So sometimes installing a system, okay, well, maybe the ducts aren't sized properly. Maybe those ducts need to be cleaned. Like there's something you have to check the duct pressure, or you don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to. You're guessing.
You're point blank guessing. Well, and so there's another really key thing. So Jeff Howard is one of the 2.0 guys. He's a nerd. I'm sure you're surprised, really surprised. So he tests systems. So he's in sales now, but he was a technician until 2 years ago. And Reedy Ward is the same way. He was a tech for years, and then he's been in sales for a number of years now. So these are guys that care about selling the right equipment and installing it right. So Jeff started testing PSC motors pre-install to ECM after, and noticed that they are consistently right about 30% higher on external static pressure with an ECM afterwards. Because the PSC, I picture PSC's like Wile E. Coyote before he starts running. His legs start spinning, but nothing happens, and then pew, he takes off. That's what PSC motors do when they can't move the airflow that they want to. They've got too much static. Where the ECMs are like, we're going to bite and we're going to actually move that much air. We're going to make this shit happen. But then they get tired and they break. But it moves your static pressure up 30%. So if you go in with a 0.7 system, you're going to come out over 0.9.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to that system? You're going to eat it.
Yeah. Compressors are going to fail. Blower motors are going to fail. It's just going to lead to a bunch of different issues.
Yeah, it's bad news. So this turns us into what we were talking about last time on the free quote side. So the process that we've developed, so obviously fixing the weird shit, we're good at that. We've had that dialed for a long time. The comfort consult with using the blower door and the interview and stuff, you get really nice ticket sizes and really high closing ratios, like 60 or 70% short term and usually 80 or 90 long. But what we've been missing the whole time is in doing just the advanced stuff, and I know you've felt this, you're just like, this feels like too much. It's too big of a first jump. And I got enough crap going on in my life. I don't need to try and figure out that piece. I'm trying to run a business and get shit installed and stuff like that. And yeah, got it. So what we've been working to do is fill in the front end with the free quote process that asks a bunch of the same questions. It's not that much. It's like 5 or 10 minutes worth of questions instead of an hour. But it asks the basic questions so that we can responsibly avoid responsibility. Does anybody have any asthma? Do you work at home? If so, where? Are there comfort issues there? Are there pest issues? Are any rooms too hot or too cold? Like, you want to ask these questions, because if they say no and you document it and then they change their mind later, well, that's not what you showed me. But one of the other key pieces here is offer static pressure testing every time.
I agree.
And I don't think you should do it for free.
No.
That's a key piece there. And we talked about this last time. Like, I always think about Breaking Bad when Saul meets them out in the desert after a bad cook and they're about to shoot him. And he's like, wait, put $1 in my pocket. Why? You want attorney-client confidentiality, right? Put $1 in my pocket. I need a retainer. And Jesse only has a 5. It's like, it's fine. Just put it in my pocket. But he switches at that moment. He's just about to get shot. And all of a sudden, he's their lawyer and he's their consultant. So by offering static pressure testing, and we recommend offer it inexpensively, like $25 or $50. I really like 25 as a number, because if they don't take that and then their system fails later because their static pressure is high, you dumb fuck. I mean, Seriously, you didn't want to spend $25 to figure out if your system was going to fail quickly. Not my problem. In fact, one of our guys did this. The guy turned it down and the system went in at a 1.3. He chose a smaller size, which we don't always recommend doing because you own whatever the results are if you downsize the system. But he downsized it and it still came out at like 0.95. And he's like, not my problem. I've got a signature right here. Declined, offered the static pressure testing for $25. But if we don't offer that, considering that the vast majority of systems out there are out of specification, and that a lot of them were going to be moving from PSCs, because I mean, ECMs and furnaces were mandated in the July of 19. So you can't buy a furnace without an ECM or an X13 now. If you put that in, your static goes up 30%, that system's going to eat itself.
Yeah.
And now you own it. So we've built that into the free quote process, where there's a short video, which I don't know if we want to play that or not. I put together a little 90-second video.
We can. I got it up here.
Oh, geez. The chat has taken off. Holy crap.
They get going.
Yeah, man. They are running. Holy crap.
And you guys are talking about a show last night. What show is that? Adrian's show? Reliable HVACR does a podcast, which is fucking awesome. I got to be able to get to some of these guys' shows, man. I feel so bad that they come out and support me, and I can't always, Adrian's, and I can't always get to theirs. So I've been trying to hop in some of them, even if it's for a short period of time, just because, they're my boys.
You're one of the early and the original ones. So, I mean, now we have one on Mondays, but like you can't expect everybody to show up to these things. But at least we have YouTube and podcasts. So if it's something that interests you, you can still watch it later.
Yeah, and I do try to do that, go back and watch them afterwards. But I figure even if I appreciate that, girl, and I got you guys as well, you know that. If I stop in for a second and at least say what's up and stuff like that, I try to. There's always something going on. Why is this thing...
So what I did is I put together a 90-second video for consumers that talks about how there was a mandate in July of 19 where we changed what our typical blowers are, and then how the majority of the systems out there are actually out of spec.
It's good for people to educate themselves because they may not realize how much information was packed in that short little video, how much truth is in it. And you should do that, say, God forbid, even if you're not using the HVAC 2.0 system, you still need to do this,
Yeah, exactly.
It should be the way. Oh, no, he asked, you and Nate wear Crocs. I do not wear Crocs. Do you wear Crocs, Nate?
Are we getting made fun of here, or what's going on? That they actually like Crocs? I don't know. Like, they're comfy.
Yeah.
They're great for wearing around the house.
Yeah, I've had a pair. I think they were just like black ones, and my dog ate one. I just never got another pair. So, yeah, that's the truth. Hey, no lie. I'm a Hey Dudes person. Like, I got a shit ton of them because they're just slip on and they're comfortable. But I literally have one pair of Crocs that were black that my wife got, and I wore them. Dog ate one, and then I just never got them. They're kind of take them or leave them. I kind of go.
She's going to be asked about our undies. It's coming, Gil. It's coming.
Yeah, I wear Speedos and stuff like that, thongs. I like to show the business. One of my friends' wives told me, and she was like, "Oh, you do a podcast?" She was like, "Yeah, you got a face for radio." I'm like, "Yeah, I got a cock for porn too." And her face just kind of dropped. I'm like, "Ha! Now we're both liars." It was funny. People were just looking at her like, "Don't pick a fight with Gil. You're gonna lose." Trust me, I'll make you blush before you make me blush. Yeah, it was funny. Off topic, I did a sales call the other day, and some old lady was sitting there with her husband, and she was kind of hitting on me. But to be honest, I think this old lady back in her heyday was a bombshell. You know what I mean? She just had that look. She was just a very sweet Southern lady, you know?
You can kind of tell. We had a male lady who's probably 65 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, you were quite pretty when you were younger.
Yeah, she was a good-looking woman. One thing before I forget that I wanted to talk about cougar hunting season. Yeah, hey, man. Gotta do what you gotta do. Fuck, I'm getting old now, so I guess it's not even really cougar hunting sometimes. It's called dating, sadly. But about the whole Electrify thing, like, I found out, like, until we started really doing more and more conversions, how many houses are not equipped for it. Like, they only have like 100 amp service, like how every one of them needs heavy ups. And we've had to build that partnership with some electricians. Like, hey, how much will you charge standard? Like, what's a number that I could put in to one where you're not going to lose money? You know what I mean? So that I can add it in. It can be in my financing or whatever it is. And then I'll pay them, just because I don't want to be like, oh, call this electrician, set up another visit, make the process harder. Yeah, a lot of people need it. I mean, to me, any normal household needs at least a 200 amp service. I feel like that should be kind of the norm today. And you see people that have 200 amp services and they're adding on, you know, other little substations because it's not enough.
Right? You know? Or sub panels. Yeah. Well, sometimes you don't have enough slots, even with a 200 amp. For what it's worth, we've done 3 electrifications on 100 amps. And the shit house, it'll be called the Raft Guide. That's going to be the vibe that it has. Rachel and I are just like, we got to stop calling it this. Because our daughter, who's now, well, she's 10 in a couple of days, is calling it the shit house too. This is not good parenting.
That's fun. Yeah. Last week's podcast, we were talking about shit stories, me and Ryan. So I might start asking every guest now, like, hey, have you ever had it? Well, maybe at the end we'll ask this, let you tell the story. So think about it. What is your worst, like, shitting your pants story? Everybody's got one. If anybody says you've never shit your pants, you're a fucking liar, because we've all done it. I just happen to do it more than some other people. So
that was college for me. Yeah, that was that was awkward. But hey, like they say, shit happens, right?
Yeah, hey, that's why I will never forget the first time that Obama ran for office, because I remember picking my dad up. I took him to vote. We both vote. We're driving back. I dropped him off. I'm going back to my house and oh, shit. That's not good. I went home and my wife came home and was like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing, go away. She's like, Gil, what are you doing? I'm like, I shit my fucking pants. Leave me alone. Like, Jesus, like, you gotta make me say it?
Yeah, you can't always trust a fart.
Yeah. Yeah. They're devious little bastards.
So anyway,
Yes.
on the panel size, you don't always have to, but you need to pay attention. Like if they want an EV charger, like there's got to be a smaller one, like a 4kW, something like that. Like it can be 220, but it can't be that big. You're going to need to run a heat pump water heater because those only pull 0.4 kilowatts. It's 400 watts when they're running, as opposed to 5 kW or 5,000 watts with a resistance tank. And then you're going to be limited to 10 kW of backup strip. You can't do more than that. Because basically, I mean, if you take 100 amps times 220, that's 22,000 watts that you have to work with, or 22 kW. It's not exactly that. Like, that's not really how you're supposed to do it, but you'll get in the ballpark.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you got 10 kW of backup and then you've got a 2-ton heat pump, that's 2 kW. So there's 12. And that leaves you 10 to work with, which you can jam up if you run too much stuff. Like my neighbor flipped her 200 amp breaker. Like I didn't think it was possible, but my wife was talking to her on the phone and all of a sudden she's like, the lights went off here. This is weird. Are your lights off? No. And I walk up the hill because her husband's gone. I'm asking her what's going on. So she has 20 kW strip heat. It's just an electric furnace. Oh. And then a resistance water heater and a dryer and a stove. And she had all of those running plus the lights. And then she had a space heater short out. And that was enough to kick it over the top and bloop. And I'm like, I didn't think it was possible to flip a 200 amp breaker. Like I just didn't. I didn't think you could pull enough.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But she did. And frankly, I'm glad that it did. So it didn't burn the house down.
Very true.
And I told her, like, you need to not run one of those, whatever it is.
Terms off.
If you drop any one of those, you're okay. But on 100 amps, you can do it. There's actually a whole thing on that called the watt diet. So it's doable, but there is some risk.
Well, I've seen people like piggyback breakers and different things. And it's another one of those things where it's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, you know?
Yeah. Well, the 15 and 20 amp breakers don't really bother me because all the stuff that we run now doesn't pull that much. You know, True. Like this laptop's pulling 100 watts right now. Who cares? All the lights that are running in here right now are probably pulling a grand total of 20. You know, I got 5 lights on right now. And
LED makes a big difference. Not to get on that rabbit hole. Yeah. I never used to believe that until I went somewhere. It was some kind of school. I don't know. But I saw the guy had a electrical meter with a socket, and he literally went through all the different light bulbs. Yeah, and when you got to the LED one, like you couldn't even see it move. And I was like, shit. So I spent the money and went full LED, and I'll be damned. They last longer, they're brighter, and it doesn't use as much. Like that's something that everybody should definitely do.
Well, it's hard to buy incandescent anymore. You can get those halogens, which use a little bit less. That was kind of a clever way they did that too. It's actually the same way that the PSC motors got taken out. They required that light bulbs be 15% more efficient than tungsten, which is your usual incandescent filament, 15% more efficient than that, which the technology just flat out isn't capable of. So they didn't ban it, but they basically banned it.
What's the technology in the little spiral ones? What's that?
That's compact fluorescent. Those are like the cassette tape.
Yeah.
Nobody really likes them. They kind of sucked. They break. They have like lousy experience. They buzz.
Hey, they were on sale.
The LEDs are finally pretty well dialed. You can still buy bad ones. But anyway, you can do electrifications on 100 amp panels, but you need to be paying attention. And I wouldn't want to do that off of a free quote. That's for damn sure.
No, fuck no.
Like you need to know where your load is pretty close and be speccing the right stuff.
Jimmy's package is late, apparently. Mine's still here.
Oh, the chat is totally going in another direction than we are right now.
Well, and that's the funny thing sometimes, because I'll look over and see what they're talking about, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, and it's fucking hilarious.
It's funny.
Yeah, real fast before I forget, guys, I meant to tell you, pay attention to HVAC Uncensored Instagram. It's only going to be on Instagram, so make sure that you are following me on there. Yellow Jacket sent me these to give away. So this is a Titan manifold, and then I am going to personally, the podcast is going to buy a set of Yellow Jacket hoses to ship these away to go with. So make sure that you're paying attention, and I will pick a winner. I'll figure out what we're going to do to win these, all right?
Pick me. I don't even have a 608.
Neither do half the people doing HVAC.
Man. Anyway, spinning back around to crappy installs. What you were talking about earlier, you mentioned the critical piece, which is if you don't sell a job for enough money, you can't afford to do it right.
Exactly. And that's why some technicians and some people out there who don't control the pricing, it's not their fault. But you got to create enough buzz with your boss or your manager, get with the install team and be like, hey, we got to do things this way. And go to your owner, your manager, whatever, and be like, hey, we want to step these jobs up. We get it. It's your reputation. It's our reputation. You know, can we add money into this? Or can we add something to where if I do this, it's this much money? Something. No boss is going to say, you cannot sell that job for more money. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. Even some of the shit owners, it all comes down to dollars and cents. They just want to make money. So if you're going to do that and it's not going to take you, you know, a shit ton more time, but the money's in the job, they're not going to say anything.
Jennifer's like, I'm Jennifer from HVAC Misfits. I can help with that, Nate. I'm slinging 608s out of my van. Call me.
That's fucking funny.
It can work. I don't know that I'll ever really install one. That's just not kind of the part of the industry I've landed in, but I like to understand all of that stuff. Shit. I'm a nerd. Part of me would do it just to do it.
You probably know more about it than some guys out there that are fucking service techs in a truck, though, bro, to be honest with you. So
some stuff, yeah, but a lot of stuff, no. So, I mean, it's everywhere, but there's so much other stuff. Like we were talking about it last time, two different pieces. You said, like, you don't view sales as sales. You view it as communication.
Yeah.
And we are in full agreement. Like, just the word sales feels a little dirty.
Yeah.
It feels like you're twisting someone's arm and what's it going to take to get you in this car today?
Yeah, like it's forceful. I like communicate and educate. Yeah. That's how I've been able to get $25,000, $30,000 sales on residential, and the people fucking love me afterwards, you know?
Right.
I feel good when I leave, not like I walk out like I feel dirty, you know? I need to go shower because I just ripped these people off. Like that's just never been my thing, never will be, and nobody that works for me will ever be that.
Well, I mean, you believe it. Like you said, you miss your two honeys, the 25 VNA 8s hanging on your last house.
On the street, and that guy doesn't realize what he has. Fuck him.
So a lot of that comes back to wherever you can, put the good stuff in your own house. But
I looked down and I thought it was a question because it was in all caps.
It is in all caps. That's
help. God damn you, Brian. I'm sorry, man. I wasn't trying to laugh while you were talking, but I couldn't.
No. We both noticed it at the same time and started laughing. I definitely recommend put good stuff in your own house. Because you can get it much cheaper in general, you know, to go for personal use and put in a high-end system and make sure you size it right so you don't burn the thing up with static pressure and learn how it works.
And don't oversize it either.
Exactly. Yeah. That is so hard to teach because man-J on heating is usually about double what reality is. And you can back into it, but like there is no great calculator for doing that sort of thing. Like you're using calculators wrong to get them to spit out the number that you want.
Most systems don't need a 20 kW heat kit. Okay.
No, that's gigantic.
Yeah. So I went the other day and it was like a fucking 2.5 ton system with a 20 kW heat strip. I was like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah. You mentioned that last time. I mean, 2.5 ton, that's 30,000 BTUs and 20 kW is about 70,000 BTUs. You don't need that much. I mean, sometimes you're sizing for a little bit of backup and sometimes you're sizing for full-on replacement. But full-on replacement, 10 kW is fine. That's 34,000. You're still bigger in the system. Yeah, so there's all of these pieces. Well, and there you go. That could keep you from a 200 amp upgrade right there.
Yeah, very true.
20 kW, you have to go to a 200 amp. There's no way around it, because a 100 amp panel is about 22 kW of capability. So you just burned it all with resistance, and you haven't turned anything else on in the house or the heat pump. Shoot, you got me going too many different directions now, Gil. So last time you were also talking about the what and the why. So put the good stuff in so that you understand what it is. And you can play with the settings and understand what makes the house feel better and worse. Because the communicating systems, man, you can do all kinds of stuff. Like clients call me and I'm like, all right, go in, and for the carrier, put your finger on the service hat for an uncomfortably long time, because it takes like 10 seconds before you get in. Like it's socially awkward. We laugh about it. And then like, all right, so go look for this and then change this setting. And there's so many different things that I kind of know where to point them. And like, it's too loud. All right, we're going to turn your airflow down. Or it's too noisy when it's really cold out. All right, we're going to go clip the RPM that it can run to.
Not to interrupt you, is one thing I found out that I don't know if Carrier does this now, because I don't put them in. I don't think they do. But with the Lennox S40, when the customer signs up for their account, as long as you tell them to check a box, I can go into their thermostat from my office.
Remote. Yeah.
Exactly. And I can make any changes inside of that programming or anything that I need to change right from my office. So that's pretty awesome.
It's so key just to learn that stuff. And like you said, be able to changing the stuff remotely. That's such a nice game changer. Not having to go out to the house or get on the phone with somebody and help them change it.
That's awesome. Carrier doesn't do that, though. I would have thought that they would have been.
They do, but Carrier doesn't know who the hell I am still, which is funny because I've sold a lot of their heat pumps and talked about a lot of their stuff.
Made my bread with Carrier.
Yeah, I talked to one person from the factory one time because I was looking for some technical help that I couldn't get from the distributor. Like I asked them, how do I turn on a reheat dehumidification? What's reheat dehumidification? Well,
YouTube.
It's not on there. That's an unusual setting. So I managed to get a hold of someone at the factory. First line out of their mouth is, how'd you get this number? This is going to go well. It didn't. I didn't get what I needed at all. But if you are a decent sized dealer, you can get the access. And yes, you can change things remotely. So that's part of it.
It's been a little bit since I've been with them. I figured you could.
Yeah, you can. You just need to be a big enough dealer.
Yeah. We were a pretty big dealer, though, because that's where I've sold, millions of dollars of Carrier. Because like I said, all the companies I dealt with were Carrier. In the beginning, it was Bryant, but it always went up. It's all the same shit. Bryant Evolution, Carrier Infinity, same thing. But as far as what you said about putting in your own house, I agree with that 100%, because I always was a nerd and believed in the technology, but once I put it in my own home, that was all she wrote. People would tell me, like, Gil, I could feel your passion. Like, I was showing pictures of my units like it was my fucking kids, Like, look at them. Like, that's little Lizzie and there's Billy. Yeah, like, because I was like, damn, like, this is legit. And I know that they were installed right. They were sized right. I did it myself. I didn't cut any corners. I did everything to make it proper. And I saw the result and was like, fuck. So when I do buy my next house, it's on like Donkey Kong, bitches. And if I have to build a studio, like if it's not what I want, because I'm going, like I said, I'm going full Joe Rogan when I build the next one. I might even put a fucking inverter system in that thing just to have it. It could be the test dummy that I can make videos off of. I don't know.
Well, that's what will make you a believer, though. Like you said, that made you a believer. So put some good stuff in so that you aren't being like, no, you don't need that. Like I've heard that from a bunch of people. And it's like, have you tried it? Well, no. Well, don't knock until you try it.
Yeah. Don't be that ignorant guy that's like, anything above 16 SEER just doesn't make sense. Yeah, you're a fucking moron. Don't stop saying. I will debate you all day and I will fucking destroy you with facts. Like, people say that because they don't know. They've never used it. They're afraid of the technology. But there is no facts out there that validate your argument. None.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that comes to the next thing, which you were talking about last time. You like how I connect the how and the why, give them both. So the what, the how, and the why. Like, your guys need to understand all these things. Or your ladies, because we've actually got some ladies in here, which is awesome. Because there's not a lot of female techs out there, but we got Jess and Jen in here at a minimum. If you can help your technicians and your salespeople, like I call it the 6 functions of HVAC that comes out of my book. So like load matching. You want the equipment to be able to put out exactly what the house needs at any given moment all year. And realistically, it's really hard to get above 50%. of the year because we spend so many hours in like the 60 to 75 degree range where you don't really have any heating or cooling load to speak of. Like it's just a little bit of a bump is all you need, but it's not going to run full time, no matter how good the system is.
Yeah, but those are the humidity issue times.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. People are like, oh, summer. Well, no. Most of the time, your humidity issues are going to be in the shoulder seasons leading up to summer and after summer. That's when you have humidity problems.
Speaking of which, it is so dry here right now. It's freaking awesome. I just checked the dew point. It was 30 degrees today. I'm like, I am so comfortable. And 75 feels cold. And we didn't have quite as much of the smoke here. We had it yesterday, but it wasn't too bad today. But,
I am not a humidity issue, Brett. You heard my feelings.
So bad for you. That's probably the radio frequency. I forget what you call that. Can be mediocre, Jess. Agreed. There's pluses and minuses to everything. You don't want to really dim LED if you don't have to. You get weird hertzes out of it, frequencies out of it that mess with your body. Anyway, can you tell I've gone down some rabbit holes, Gil?
Yeah.
To even be aware of that?
I can, but here, we can answer some questions as we exit the show. Blogger, yes, we are smoking here in the DMV. It's starting to warm up and it's going good. Outlaw HVAC says steam or bypass opinions. Okay, well, that is humidity, so that would be more of a heating thing, just so we're talking about the same thing. But they all have a place, okay? So steam is the best form of humidification, hands down. There's kind of no question on that. It's also the most expensive. I would not put steam in every home. I just don't think it's the right. Yes, unless they have a legitimate issue where the house is like extremely abnormally dry, I don't think that you necessarily need that. Normally, bypass and fan powered are going to be the best way to go as long as you size them properly. You know, you're not putting a small bypass on a 5-ton. You're not putting a large on a 2-ton system.
I'll debate you on that. But keep going.
Yeah, normally fan powered, the only time you really need them is if you can't run the bypass duct, but they're going to pretty much do the same thing for the most part. You just have a little bit more inertia getting the moisture into the return or whatever. You're probably right. And the more I think about what I said, I mean, normally it's not going to make some huge difference if you put one on that's too big for a small size because those things, they're not generating a ton of humidity.
There's a limit to what they do, yeah.
It's going to go based off the CFM that's coming through the return that's pulling it in, you know?
Yeah, there's 2 bits of nuance I'd add there. So one is be careful with zoning systems and bypass. I didn't know about this. I rode with Jeff Howard here right before Christmas because that's when I picked up the unit that's doing me a lot of good sitting in my shed because we got to save the money to put the duct system in. We spray foamed the attic in this house, so it's going to go up top. Jeff took me to a house that had zoning and we clocked with an infrared camera. The bypass was getting 130 degree air through it. So that was feeding that back into the heat exchanger, and that's pushing your luck because that becomes your bypass at that point. So there can be risk with a bypass humidifier and zoning systems. Generally, we don't like them. So zoning systems they're kind of a shitty fix for the most part.
Yeah.
They don't tend to work that well.
The only way I'd ever like them is if I was able to design the whole thing from the ground up. The ductwork is exactly, my branches are exactly the way I want them. That's why all those people that after the fact are like, I want zone dampers. I'm like, no, you don't. Until you realize how much it costs. And you're like, we're not talking $1,000. We're talking a couple of $1,000s to do this right.
And then it doesn't work that well. That's where variable speed equipment and playing with your just regular manual dampers can oftentimes get you pretty close. So the load matching side. The other bit of nuance there too, though, is be careful putting a ton of humidification in because you will create mold in the attic. So vapor is buoyant. It will rise, and almost every house has lots of leaks that go into the attic. This is the crap I do and know. And so I've seen a bunch of houses that have humidifiers that run too much, and then they have mold on the roof deck in the attic. So in general, our view is if you need more than one water saver humidifier, which uses less water than the regular ones, the house is probably too leaky. Because if you start using a whole lot more than that, your risk of causing mold goes up quite a bit. So there's the nuance.
No, that makes sense. Jimmy, HVAC teacher, said, put a zone system in my buddy's house, drop the power bill in half and the gas bill in half. So yeah, not saying they don't work, Jimmy. When they're designed properly, I don't think that they're bad. Let's be honest, most of them aren't designed properly. That's the problem.
You need to have multiple zones too to have it work well. Like you really need to have 3 zones and have them be relatively similar in size. You don't want one that's 90% of the house and the other that's 10. You can solve a lot of issues with the right equipment and maybe a little bit of shell work.
Yeah. Brett says sometimes what they'll do is put a min percentage. So if the damper is only open to 50%, it only allows the unit to go in first stage heat rather than let it go into second stage. Yeah, there's definitely different ways. And just like, when people, have multiple zones and you do a dump zone into the biggest area, you put it into an area that can take the airflow and that the moisture won't hurt it. So there's ways around it. And I've also seen with humidifiers, they'll put it after the bypass damper so that it's not getting before, no, it would be after the bypass damper. Making sure I'm saying it right. Because you don't want it to be sucked back in to where.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm saying that right. I got it right in my head, but the words aren't coming out of my mouth. So, Gil's pants have leaks. Yes. No, my ass does, It's funny. I fell down.
All of us do it one time or another. Don't deny it.
Yeah, it's, but see, I'm lucky. I have this really good mic and you guys can't hear my farts. Okay? Shure SM7B covers up farts. Now what, bitch? Yeah. Round of applause. Okay, stop clapping. Sorry. And now we got the Pledge of Allegiance playing. Jesus. But damn, we're well over an hour now, man. Shit.
And hell, there's a whole bunch of stuff I still have written down that we didn't even touch on and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Well, hey, there's always another episode with you, brother. You know that. So we'll just have to set up another one to keep going. If you guys have any questions here before we close this out, feel free to put them in all caps, and then we're more than happy to try to answer a few real fast before we close this thing out.
So Outlaw commented, run into so many people putting 90% furnaces in an uninsulated attic, and then you're constantly there for frozen drains. Yep. I learned that the hard way as an insulation contractor. We insulated the attic, and before the line didn't freeze, and after it did. And I wasn't even aware of that being a potential issue because there's so few attic systems in the Cleveland area. It's a couple percent.
No, I'm sweating because I got the AC off of my studio because it's loud. I am sweating balls in here. Trust me, no comments make me sweat. Come on, you don't know me then. I hate seeing that, the 90% attics in unconditioned spaces. It just makes no sense. And then people do wrap the heat tape or enlarge the drain and all these other things. And I'm like, or just don't put it. How about that? Let's just not do that. But real fast, not to go on some sidebar here, we've been finding a lot of people, older houses, 80% furnaces, they want to upgrade it, but per code, then they have to put in a chimney liner. So chimney liners aren't cheap to put in around here. So it makes sense just to say, hey, you can just upgrade to a 90%er, and it's going to be cheaper for us to run 2 PVC pipes out than it is to do a chimney liner. So we've been getting quite a few of those upgrades.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but most likely for 2029, there won't be any 80%ers anymore. So that's likely to be a change. So it's not done, but I mean, it almost went through a couple of years ago, and it looks like for the next equipment standards update, it's going to go through. So 80%ers are very likely to be gone as of 2029. So it's still a few years out, obviously, but it's coming. This is one instance where just give me an 80. So I don't have the freaking drain line that can freeze. So there's still a bunch of instances. And then if you're running a hybrid, I think all the time of my buddy Stephen Raridan, he put a hybrid in his house in North Carolina. Guess how many times his furnace has run in 10 years?
None.
Once at startup.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
But none for actually heating the house. So yeah, he has an 80% furnace. Do any of us care? It doesn't matter. I had a client that felt guilty that he had a pickup truck that he drove 1,000 miles a year. And I'm like, John, just use the freaking pickup truck when you need it. Yeah. Whatever, dude. It's 1,000 miles a year. So who cares if the thing gets 12 miles a gallon? It doesn't matter. So, and it's the same thing here. It's back and forth. And it's kind of funny because we've spent so long pulling for electrification. And now we have a bunch of policymakers and people that don't actually work in the field and understand what they're doing. And they're out trying to pull everything forward. And now we're like, whoa. Wait, guys, this is dumb what you're doing. You don't realize that it's dumb because you don't understand all the pieces.
Yeah.
They're going full Dunning-Kruger on us. But the IRA, it's in for 10 years. So we got to deal with that crap.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. That's funny. Brett said, what time did Gil fart? Whoever wins gets the gate set. That's
It's
fucking
only
up.
if you wrote down what time he farted. I don't know if you were paying attention.
Yeah, whenever
Or if you did tonight. I don't know. Maybe it was a good night.
Yeah, Brett's on here giving my prizes away. And which fart? Maybe I only announce one. Okay? Just saying, I had Taco Bell yesterday. Shit happens. Yeah, let me get ready to close this thing out. Thank you, man, Nate, for coming on. I love it when you come on, man. We always have good, fun, educational stuff where it's good topics that people can learn something, but at the same time, it's fun. It's a good listen. So thank you for always coming on, man. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you and your friendship. So
likewise. And yeah, we'll schedule and come back.
Yep, we will do this again. Where can everybody find you if they want to find you, Mr. Nate?
Easiest place is probably on Facebook in the HVAC 2.0 advanced discussion group. But if you want to email me, it's pretty easy. It's nate@hvac20.com. So you won't find many shorter emails than that. And then the HVAC 2.0 show on Monday nights. Come watch and comment. I post that in your group, Gil. Thanks for letting me do that.
Of course.
So come on Monday nights. We're usually doing, some kind of deep dive in a nerdy topic. I'm sure you're shocked.
No, but I know that they're probably definitely very detailed in the topics that people need to watch. It's stuff that we need to learn, and you get the real information about it. So I know somebody's learning something from it. And that is on the HVAC 2.0 YouTube channel, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Nice. So guys, go check that out. Show Nate some love. Smart dude. The stuff, I promise, when you watch his shows, you're going to leave better than when you arrived. You're going to learn something for sure. So thank you, my buddy. If you want to hang tight, I'll start closing this thing out.
Will do. See you in a minute.
All right, bud. All right, everyone. Thank you guys for coming to watch it live. I appreciate you guys. Gonna do some different things as far as the shows. I know you guys had a good time last week. I think I might start trying to get in to do maybe the podcast Wednesday nights is still something that can go out audio. And then I might try to do something else that's more of just kind of like a live stream where it's just me hanging out, chatting with you guys, having some fun discussions and topics where we can have a good time. And I don't have to worry about what the audio sounds like, because some of these are great when you're watching and you're paying attention to the chat. But if it's something that, you're listening to it, it's not really going to make sense. So it's always that fine line. You know what I mean? I think I might start doing that and have fun. Maybe I'll start button up to like the Misfits or something. If they go at 9, I'll go at 8 and then stop and go right into their show or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Make sure that you guys are following me on all the social media sites, which is pretty much just YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But make sure you go on Instagram. That will be the giveaway for the Yellow Jacket Titan manifold, as well as I will buy some good hoses, some of the 6-foot hoses with the ball valves. I will buy those to put in with this, and then I will announce how you can win that. Yeah. Other than that, man, guys, remember, be safe out there. Always make it home the same way you left. Keep your head on a swivel. We live in a crazy fucking world, sadly. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. Never stop learning. Keep trying to make yourself better. Raise the bar. Make the people around you raise the bar. All right? Hold each other accountable. Listen to a podcast, watch a podcast, read a book, an online class, a simulator, whatever it is. The Misfits just had a simulator on there. Like, there's always so many resources out there to make yourself better. So there's no excuse when you say, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. It means you didn't want to know. All right? Make sure you're doing that. I appreciate you guys. Make sure that you download the podcast. Like I said, if you guys could, leave me a 5-star review on whatever audio platform, wherever you get your podcast. I would greatly appreciate that. My analytics are telling me that I need some more. So if you guys would help me, we'd be greatly appreciated. And make sure that you fucking support the community, man. Like I said, a bunch of these other amazing shows that you have. Reliable HVACR, his show on Tuesday nights. You have the Misfits on Saturday night. You got HVAC Overtime on Friday night. You got HVAC 2.0 doing their shows on Monday night. You have Mr. Chris Stevens, HVACR Videos, doing his on Monday night. So guys, there's so many awesome people in our community. Go support them, watch their show, hop in, hang out, because it's great people, doing these things. And it's awesome. And these things behind the scenes take a little bit of work. So when people show up, have a good time, learn something, it makes it all worth it. You know what I mean? As always, thank you to my moderators. As always, thank to all of you for coming in and watching live. I appreciate you guys. So to my moderators, Mr. Rookie, thank you for being here, brother. I was going to call you to make sure you were okay. Mr. Reliable HVACR, Mr. HVAC Teacher, Mr. Jimmy, who was in here, and the newest moderator, Mrs. Jennifer Manzo. Thank you, my lady. Have a good week, everybody. I'll talk with you mofos next week, all right? Peace.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Hey, Outlaw HVAC, I would be careful licking it before you stick it. Gotta make sure it tastes good, okay? All right, see ya.